Hello and welcome to the Awakened Feminine podcast. I'm your host, 𝐀𝐦𝐚, and my mission is to share the love and wisdom of inspiring women from around the world who have gone through adversity and turned their pain into purpose. Today, I'm excited to share the love and wisdom of energy healer and mindset coach Amanda Monnier, who is joining me all the way from Southern California in the USA. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi, 𝐀𝐸. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited.
Yeah, I'm
So
excited to have you on, and I know we're going to have an awesome conversation because I know all the stuff you love talking about is all the stuff I love talking about, so it's going to be fun.
I love it.
Amanda, before we get started, do you just mind sharing with us, in a couple of sentences, who you are and what you do? Because, you're more of an expert of you than me.
Of course, yeah. So I'm an energy healer and mindset coach. And one of the things that I absolutely love, and one of the main things that I focus on, is just helping people learn how to consciously create a life on their terms. So the energy healing is kind of like secondary because I like to, and it's more powerful to focus on what it is that you truly want to create. A lot of people oftentimes are kind of in that problem solving mode, but we focus on what is the end result.
Awesome. Um, Yeah, I love what you do because again, it's similar to what I do. So I just love it that I, find all these people that are similar, but obviously do have their own niche and things that they do. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Amanda. And one more question before we just kind of really kind of get started into our conversation, because I always love getting my guest perspective on this, is what is your definition of an awakened feminine?
Oh, I love that. So I would say that awakened feminine is a, a someone who is just in such alignment with who they are, and they are so like passionately unleashing that to the planet. So which I guess there's like a little bit of like masculine energy in my answer, but just a feminine is who is so like that internal knowing of who she really is. And because a lot of it, I always say that it's just really a remembrance of who you are. So
Mm.
it's like once we go within and remember how powerful we are and how we can we're like the conscious creator within us, like the things that we can do and create. And when we're doing that, when it's in alignment with our heart and soul, it's so powerful because what is so magnetic is when
Yeah.
we're being we are our own unique like signature, like our soul. And so when we're coming from it from that perspective, there's nobody else like us. So it's so powerful.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. And it is, Ashley, I want to ask you, because when you were talking about your version of awakened feminine, you said, oh, that's a bit of masculine energy. So I always like to think, like for me, I think the awakened feminine is like a beautiful balance of that masculine and feminine energy. And so I want to get your take of what you think, like how how does like the masculine and the feminine energy work together to really help to really manifest what it is that we really desire in our lives, and remember who how we are and who we are.
Yeah, so it's so important. It's crucial because sometimes, and I've gotten into this before, where we'll get kind of stuck in one kind of the polarities, and masculine energy is just as important as feminine, vice versa. So with masculine energy, it's like you're getting into like the inspired action, and it's like that's the movement, like the fire, it's like the yin and yang, right? So and then the feminine, it's like that internal cultivation, the energy work, the deep diving, the creation, and all of that. And it's like the two have to go together because for manifestation to work, for creation to move, we have to have like that movement of the masculine as well. And so that's where oftentimes with like manifestation, it's like that piece gets missed where people are like, okay, well, I'm planting the seeds, I'm doing all these things, and then they're not taking action, which is just like stagnation. Like it's not, you're not going to see like a shift in your reality if you're not taking action as well. That like inspired action from like those internal like pings that you get to where it's like, oh, that feels good. Like
Yeah.
that's the way it works. And once you start to learn and kind of it's like this, like almost like this dance.
Yeah.
It just becomes easier.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. I think that's always the missing piece, the action taking part, because you hear people going, but I've been thinking and visualizing and meditating and journaling. It's like, well, no amount of meditation or journaling is going to get you anywhere if you actually don't actually do the work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It will. And on the flip side too, I know people that are like in that constant state of
Mm,
burnout where all they do is they're in their masculine and they're over the top with it to where they don't take pauses. So that's like just as much of a, I guess, detrimental to if you are doing like this intentional work, is constantly being in your masculine, because that's a lot of people end up in like burnout, like, people that are in like those corporate jobs, or my previous life I was in law enforcement and I was just go go go, and it's like to the point where you're like only in your masculine, and then it's like, okay, well, you got to go have a little bit of downtime in the feminine too, so it's like both, right?
yeah. And I think our society has been such a masculine society as well, because in my previous job, I was a, manager in a hospital pharmacy. So it was very much the whole scientific, logical, really getting shit done, right? You just need to get stuff done, and you don't even take time out for yourself to even reflect on what you want. I didn't know what I wanted. I just knew I had to do my work. Right? um, yeah. So yeah, I just love that. It's just really having that balance. And I mean, I don't know if you've experienced burnt out, but I know I have. That and kind of that's where it's kind of taken me on my journey. So actually, do you mind sharing with us, your journey? I mean, you just mentioned that you were a law enforcement officer, and going from that to energy healing is quite different. As you're saying, it's energy healing is kind of more the feminine energy, right? You went from this very masculine role to now being that mindset coach and energy healer. Do you mind sharing with us what kind of ignited that path? And, did you have any spiritual awakenings or aha moments that really led you down this path?
Yeah, no, and I feel like a lot of people are probably like, "What the hell happened to her?" Like, she went from, like, law enforcement, like, this woo-woo, like, airy-fairy stuff. I'm like, "Guys, that actually works, please." So, yeah, so it was, gosh, probably 6 years ago, is when I started, like, down that career path, and, it was, like, a crucial piece of my journey as well. So, but yeah, during my time there, like, I had a spiritual awakening, and it was to where I was like I've always felt like, even like as I was younger, I was like, gosh, there's just got to be more. Like there's just got to be more. Like I always just felt this like thing inside me, and I just felt like this can't be all there is to life. Like where you wake up and you go to work, and then maybe I don't know, take a yoga class or go work out, and just you can get to the weekend to have like a couple days off. Like that's just crap, right?
Yeah.
So I just always had kind of felt that. And then I had like kind of hit this like emotional like wall, almost like this like kind of rock bottom, if you will, to where it was like it was like that kind of like what people would maybe call the dark night of the soul, to where it's just kind of like I can't go on like this anymore. Like
Mm,
I can't like continue like having to where I felt like I didn't have meaning. And it was simply because I wasn't being fully authentic in who I was. Like I was hiding these pieces of me, and I was playing small, and I just my soul like knew, right? So it's like at the end of the day, like every time we like continue to like go back to these things that just don't light us up, like it's like a piece of our souls almost just like continuing to just like get stuffed down until
mm,
it just can't take it anymore. It's like a pressure cooker. So I had that experience to where I had like that moment where it's like very, very like heavy, and it's like all came to the surface. And I was like, okay, like it's time for me to really start like researching and like kind of like doing some soul searching, if you will. And so it led me to lots of like books. Like I think one of the first books I read was The Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Mace.
mm,
And so it was like, okay, I was like, there clearly is like something to what like the puzzle pieces, right? And it
mm.
just continued to evolve. And so like towards the end of that period of time of like my career there, like I knew deep down that like I wanted to shift into this work because of how impactful it was in my life and how much I saw shift by doing because it's like the manifestation work, the creation work, and then it's just um like it's a lot of identity work because that's another piece that's missed with manifestation. It's like people are like, oh, like this is what I want, like I'm going to visualize it, I'm going to meditate, but their identity is not in alignment with that manifestation. And so it's like this push pull, like taking a couple steps forward to get pulled back because the identity is rooted in like someone who's not deserving of that thing, or it can be for various reasons. And so once I learned that piece around identity, it was like game changing for me, because there's also that component of like stepping into like those things that are uncomfortable because the ego is wants to keep us safe and in those comfort zones. So that's why we typically show up for the shit we don't like every day, because it's like, well, I know I'll at least get a paycheck and I can,
Yeah.
keep my home or whatever. It's and then when we shift into like stepping into those like completely uncomfortable zones, it can be like very like it's like dismantling like the identity, because you have to dismantle the old identity in order to be able to really step into this new like up leveled more aligned version of yourself. And so when I was shifting out of all of that, it was like almost like the preparation work was done. Like I just had to like finally like take the leap. And I mean, it is a little scary, I'm not gonna lie. Like there was a lot of like, oh gosh, like I'm gonna be judged, and I'm like, it was very like, what's everyone gonna think of me? And can I make it? Am I crazy? Like I had those thoughts all the time. Like, am I just like making all this shit up in my head? Like
Yep.
right? Like you have those moments when you're like seeing the veil lift of like what a lot of this really is, and you're releasing all that like societal conditioning and programming. Like you have those moments, maybe you can relate to where you're like, okay, am I in that job?
Yep. Totally. Got it. It's same, same.
And even sometimes like, so when I finally did leave, like I left and I shifted over to work with my family for a period of time. And it was like, what I did was I like sidestepped the inevitable and made a lateral move. And like the universe was like, okay, no. Like we saw what you did there and you're not doing what you're meant to be doing. So now like it's just gonna blow up in your face. And it was like I it was like to that point where I was like, okay, like I have to take this like leap. And so it was the way that it went down, like I didn't really I was supported in that way. Like it's not I like because I was at the point where my home was in escrow. I was sitting in my car. I quit my job, so I had no job. I was about to have no home because I sold it, and I was like, what am I gonna do now? And it was like, okay, like I'm fully going all in on this. And so that's kind of when everything shifted for me.
Wow. That's such an awesome journey. I love it. I absolutely love it. Going from, this very masculine job to now doing this where obviously you need to incorporate your masculine energy, but it's very much being in the flow, being your true self, remembering, you remembered who you truly are and your power, and serving others to help them achieve the same. So that's just such a beautiful, beautiful journey. I want to ask you, do you keep in touch with any of your law enforcement friends? And what do they think of you? Like,
Yeah, I do actually like some of them I will be my like best friends forever.
yeah,
I actually go because I moved too. I moved from Northern California to Southern California. It was kind of all part of my journey. Like I've always wanted to live in Southern California, and like I love it here. Like it's definitely where I'm supposed to be right now.
yeah.
I'm like 25 minutes from the beach. So like
Oh,
who can
beautiful. Yeah.
can't beat that, right? But yeah, I actually am going up to Northern California for a wedding in the next couple weeks, and so I'm planning on seeing quite a few of them. So yeah,
Yeah.
and actually the funny thing is that the support's actually been very surprising. And so I think it's like a good reminder that sometimes we just like put that on ourselves when
Mm,
it's like when we're being authentic and when we're like, this is me, like most of the time, especially people that are meant to be in your life, they're going to be like, that's really freaking cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I
I
love
know,
that.
yeah, like, it's been all good experience.
Yeah. And I think probably sorry, what helped is that you were doing all your inner work as well, and I think that makes a big difference, when you have that mirror and you're not showing you're scared of what other people think, and you have all these, fears, and then that's what gets mirrored. And I think because you did all your work already, it was kind of like, hello, and they're like, oh, okay, hi.
Yeah, it's really great to see how that works because I was the type of person that like I was terrified of like presentations in school. Like I remember I'd get the syllabus and I would literally be like, is there a presentation? Like I would look through it because it was like crippling to me. Like
Mm,
and I cared so much what other people thought of me. And it was like I never like felt good enough and I always was like hiding and like dimming my light and I just always deferred to other people and I didn't like I didn't know who I was. I wasn't grounded in any of that. And so when you get to the point of where you're like, I don't really give a damn what other people think of me, like, like you don't want people to be unkind, like it's human nature, right? Like, but when you get to the point of where it's more important to be authentic than to be, have everybody like you, because I'm not going to be for everybody, right? Like, we're not all going to, like, not
yeah.
everybody's going to be knocking on our door wanting to work with us. And, when you get to that point where you don't really care, it's kind of game changing. So,
Yeah. I love that. And I love that we're so much alike, because I was the same. Oh my gosh, is there a presentation? I don't want to do a presentation. This is like the worst thing ever. And now, I mean, I'm doing a podcast, and you just it just kind of all comes naturally, and you say things, and I'm sure there's people that don't resonate, and that's fine because you're speaking your truth. So that's just beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. Um,
yeah.
I wanted to ask you the identity work, because you were talking about how, that is a big missing piece of people manifesting. So, what, I guess for some people, they don't even know what identity work is. Do you mind kind of unpacking that and just explaining what that means?
Yeah. So I've
Mm,
trained under like several like modalities and I've kind of like I put it all kind of together in my own thing, but I will give full credit to the program that I did, Magnetic Mind, and it is working with the super conscious. So we have, obviously, we all know we have our conscious mind, we have our unconscious mind, and we have our super conscious mind. Most people, like, we don't really talk about the super conscious, but the super conscious contains information on like all your family ancestry information, different events. Like it contains everything you need to know. It's a
mm,
vast field of information. So we can work with the super conscious in this way to recode resistance. So with the like conscious creation piece, that's why I at the beginning I kind of mentioned always stepping into the end result of what we want to create. So when I'm working with my clients, it's not what's going wrong today. The first thing I will get them into is, okay, what is it that you want to create? How does it feel? How do you want
mm,
to feel? Like, because when we're coming at it from that perspective, we're not focused on, because there's nothing wrong with you. There's, we aren't broken. We don't need to be fixed. It's simply what is it that you want to create and what is causing resistance to being able to just easily move towards that. It may not show up overnight. Some things might, but obviously we live in a physical reality. So there's some things that take a little bit of time and you have to take that action. And so when we're doing like working with the super conscious and doing that deep work, because it works at a cellular level and
mm.
with the DNA, and it's like rewiring the neurology, like it deals with all kinds of, the epigenetics as far as like the family history, like it's scientific. It's, if you can see like the neural pathways, they have like videos of the brain rewiring.
Yeah.
So this stuff is crazy. Like it really cool and it works. And so when we're stepping into the end results, we're cultivating that identity of, what is it that you want to have because you'd love to have it. So if it's, the business, the career, and we want to make sure it's not like a secondary reason. Like it's like, I just want to have a life I love. I just want to have soulmate love. I choose soulmate love. When we're stepping into it and we're feeling into it, because emotions are super powerful, and it obviously, I'm sure like as we communicate with the universe through frequency of emotion. And so when we plant that seed, and then we can ask superconscious and work with the superconscious to bring up resistance to having that. So that, and with the identity work, like there can be, we have all different like parts, personalities, and aspects of us. So let's say that in my head, like I choose the end result of soulmate love, but the 6-year-old version of me is still rooted in like unworthiness, and we haven't unpacked that, because it's actually way easier than we think to do like this deeper level work. And it doesn't have to be like the hours of like talking it, because when we think of doing this type of work, it's like, okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's scratch at the wound. And then it's like, okay, bye. We'll see you next week. Let's talk about it again. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Really, all you've done is brought the pain up.
Yeah.
So instead of just bringing the pain up, which is not effective, and that's just going to leave people vulnerable and open, because the pattern is still there, we can rewire and release. So we can work with these parts at a deeper level. I mean, if I was telling someone to close their eyes and we were working with this inner child, like you can see that inner child, and we can work with it at that super conscious level, and release that resistance and rewire that piece, so that you're not fighting against all these parts of you, and you can just go for what you want. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool stuff.
It is. I absolutely love this stuff. It's really just allowing yourself to step into version 2.0, right? So you're in this current version, and it's like, okay, what's the version that I want to be in? And then healing and working towards that, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And I always try to remind people, it's like you have to be able to like accept and love the present as well. Like it's not like life will be better when, it's like, this is just what I'm choosing. Like when we show up for our manifestations from a place of like, if it does show up and if it doesn't show up, we're in the same energy. Like that, like detachment is so beautiful, right? Like it's like just a knowingness. Okay, I've chosen this. It's going to happen.
Yes.
Like I don't have to be attached to it.
Yes.
Like there's a whole different energy, and then it's just allowing for that, or even something better. Like I always say, for this is something better, because maybe the universe has like 10 times better what I asked for. Like I'm gonna let that come my way.
Yeah, exactly. And you can ask for what you want, but just I love that you mentioned that detachment, because we're always so want to be in control. I'm someone that loves to be in control in the past. Still learning to let go sometimes, but it's the whole, I want it this way, and I want it to show up this way, and I want it to show up at this time. But the manifestation doesn't work that way, right? And it's just being okay that if you chose it and you ask for it, it will show up in a way that the universe wants it to show up in your life at a time that it's meant for you. So I just love that you mentioned the detachment, because it's so important. Is it, like you said, is that different energy, is not the energy of control, which is really about fear, is this energy of expansion and just being open to receive. Yeah.
And I love that. Like, and you can even use like your emotion as like your compass. It's like we were just talking about, like, you can feel into something, and if it has like an icky feeling attached to it, you may want to shift it a little bit, because it should feel good, and it should feel expansive, and it should feel like it's like in the flow. Because if it's in the flow, then it's moving.
Yeah. I want to ask you about intuition, because you're talking about the icky feeling. We all have the ability to tap into our intuition, but most people think it's like a special superpower that only some people have, or only spiritual people have. is not something that they believe. But when you think about it, we get the gut feeling. When you get that, that sick feeling in your stomach and you're like, oh, I know I'm not supposed to do that, but I'll do it anyway because, what does that mean, kind of thing. Can you talk about, I guess, how people can start tapping into their intuition to really step into alignment, step into their purpose, or, what their soul's work is meant to be, because it's such an important tool to harness.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And to kind of touch on what you said, we all are intuitive, right? Like I feel like there's almost like some negative connotation with the word even like psychic or intuitive, right? Like you
Yeah.
think of like the woo-woo person, like people are like, well, what do you do? I'm like, no, it's just working with energy. Everything's
Yeah.
energy. Settle down.
Yeah.
It's gonna be okay. I'm not like, drawing circles around people and like doing, you know what I mean? Like there's definitely some like connotations and things, and I obviously think that I'm sure we could go down rabbit holes related to and why that is, but it is something that's just so fundamental to being human. Like we are energy, we are connected to source and our higher selves, and intuition is just really just feeling into what is an alignment and just being able to read energy, right? So as far as some of like the basic things that I would suggest for people if they want to kind of tap into this more, because there are all different types of like, primary ways that we sense and feel. Like for me, like I feel so deeply. Like I can walk into like a room or a restaurant and I can just be like, okay, this is what I feel like. And even like, it's just like I walk into a restaurant, I'm like, oh, I can tell like if the food's going to be good or not. Like it just,
Yeah.
feeling so intense for me. Some people like see more visions. Some people will hear things. So it's kind of learning. It's like I always call it intuition muscle. Like it's learning to use your intuition muscle. Because if you don't go to the gym and then you like go try to pick up like, 100-pound weights, it's probably not going to go well for you. You have to build up to that. You have to like work that muscle memory and almost practice a little bit, but it's not difficult. So one of the main ways that I would suggest too is getting out of the head and into the heart, because the heart field is so powerful. What is it like? I think research says like 40,000 neurons in the heart field have been measured, which is more than anywhere in the body. So it's just extremely powerful. And to me, it's a way to tap into the soul and to intuition and into like this inner knowing is through the heart. We're in the head, like it's like the analytical energy, like it's to me intuition is very feminine, and it is very going within, and connecting to like your higher self or super conscious. And then another thing that I suggest too is getting grounded, because we can't manifest in the physical if we're not grounded. So and there are different ways that you can get grounded, even just like going into nature, meditation, connecting to the earth in various ways, help us get more grounded. And so it creates like that clarity. And then even just like for bringing through some of this stuff on what, because I actually was thinking about this today. I'm like, I think there's actually a lot of people that don't even really like know what they would want and how it would feel, because they're in that autopilot, right? So like if you're not intentional and you aren't clear and you aren't tapping into that, you tend to get random shit, like because it's all based on the unconscious, because you're going throughout your life on that autopilot, which is ran by the unconscious. So in a sense you get random things, but you kind of don't at the same time, because you're just repeating those cyclical patterns, the unconscious patterns. So it's kind of a little bit of both. But when we're intentional about what we want, it's a whole different structure on how we're moving about and operating in life. It doesn't mean that you have to just like write your wish list like it's Christmas of all the like material things that you want. It's like, what lights you up? What are you passionate about? What makes you just feel like happy to be alive? And if we had like more happy humans on the planet, like that's just game changing right there. So
Yes. It'll make the world a much better place. We're all happy.
yes.
And we're all happy. We all know who we are. We all know what our sole purpose here on Earth is. Gosh, think of that world.
I know. I actually like it's been interesting because I just feel like this energy of the shift, like a lot more people are waking up.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, there is so much, conditioning and brainwashing going on and fear. Like my number one suggestion would be to like pull yourself out of the fear because fear is
Mm.
so crippling in so many different ways. Obviously there's reasonable amounts of fears in, certain situations, but like if you're just anchored in this fear and chaos energy, it's just it's kind of like it's very debilitating.
Yes, definitely. And I find for me, it's funny you talk about fear, and because I mean the news is a lot about fear. It's usually all bad news when you watch the news, right? Really, there's not a lot of good news. So I found, one of the things when I first started going to personal development was don't watch the news. Don't
Yeah,
watch the news.
you're
If
that's
you want
such a
to,
lie.
yeah,
You're not
if you
creating it from the news.
yeah, if you want to know what's going on, find sources that that are reputable and resonate with you, and then just go in and look at it when you need to find out what's happening in the world, because you do need to know what's happening in the world in a way, right? As much as you want to sometimes live in your bubble of bliss. But one of the things, and it has been such a big it's made such a big change in my well-being not watching the news. And I think that's a is really big tip for people who just wants to go, I don't want to like have all these external negative sources coming at me as well, because sometimes you're already, maybe you're stuck in a rut and you're already in this fear mode or whatever, lower vibrational mode that you are in. And then when you have other things, people, news, and all these different sources, it doesn't help. And if you're plugging into the TV all the time, it really doesn't help you with your with trying to get out of the fear, because it's just like continuously in your face.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're like watching that and walking away feeling like shit, you may not want to put your time and energy right into something else. It's just and that's again where like discernment and intuition come in too, right? So it's
Yeah.
like learning to kind of navigate that because it's like goes back to like the things that were conditioned. It's like, oh, you turn the news on and get your daily dose of crap, and then you go to work and then you come home. It's like I don't know, like I've just never subscribed,
Yes.
to all of that because it's like I think deep down, like we all know, like deep down, like what is our truth, and my truth is going to be different than your truth, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's where it comes back to alignment and the emotions as like your compass, because if you're going through the majority of your life you're not like vibing high, like it's not gonna be all sunshine and roses. Like in the last year, like for me even when I went through like some of the stuff in this transition, like there have been tears, like there have been different stresses and things, but I can say overall, like it's kind of like it's like this knowing that I'm in alignment. And even though like things do come up, it's like for me, like oftentimes things come up when I'm about ready to like kind of up level again and
Mm.
push against edges. And maybe you can have experienced that as well when you're continuing to just like raise your vibration and to step into like that next level version of yourself. Sometimes it's like you got that the
Yeah.
stuff comes up, right?
Yeah.
The icky stuff
Yeah.
that needs
Clear
to
the
go.
end shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'll just love our conversation today. I want to ask you, in terms of, you know, the gosh, I lost my train of thought.
All the time. I'm like have like those squirrel moments where I'm just like
Like, what am I talking about?
I don't know how I multitask in law enforcement. People ask me that all the time. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I guess it just rises to the occasion because
Yeah, I
half the
think,
time I
yeah.
don't even know what I was going to talk about.
Yeah, I think sometimes you just kind of have to, because I think when I was pregnant, heavily pregnant, and managing the pharmacy, people like, pregnancy brain. I'm like, I couldn't have pregnancy brain. There was no way I could have been able to make it with a pregnancy brain in this role. So I
Right.
think you just kind of sometimes you just step up to the plate without having,
Totally.
yeah, even though probably, and your anatomy and everything tells you that otherwise, you just
Yeah.
kind of just do it, right? Yeah. I want to, if you don't mind, take a little bit of a turn because I always love to talk about self-love and self-worth, and we kind of have touched about on it because a lot of the things as we're growing up with conditioning in society, and even being raised by our parents and not knowingly, they somehow are able to instill some sort of making us feel not as worthy. It might be just that it's they gave something to your sister instead of you, just, and then it made you go, oh well, why can't I have it, right? um so so self-love for me has been a big part of my journey. Can you share with us what self-love means to you?
Yeah, so this is a big one. And this was a big one that I had to kind of navigate through. And I would say it popped up mostly in a lot of like my relationships with men as I was like dating and things. And it did stem from my childhood too, because there was like a lot of like, there was like chaos in my childhood, and my parents split when I was young. And so, um, moving into like when I started dating men that just like, almost like were in a way like kind of reflecting this back to me, as far as I was just in these relationships that were so surface level, and they just were not warm, they were not loving, like they were not the way that like I know now that love is supposed to be.
Mm,
And so, and I know that part of it was because like I didn't feel worthy, like I did not love myself, like, and it was like literally written over every like I had like skin issues growing up, like and like our bodies are just reflecting too, like all the
yeah.
things like the pain that we feel in our body, and like I have pain in my back, like just so like obvious, but I didn't see it, right? Because I was still in my like unconscious, and it was just like I didn't understand why I kept like almost, I always say like same man different face,
Yep.
because it was like, and again it's like nobody's, not anybody's fault, like
No.
poor treatment's absolutely not okay, but like as far as like when you have, when you bring two people together that are both in their unconscious shit, it's like just a recipe for nonsense. So
Yeah.
um so as far as like the self-love piece, like I had periods of time where I like just had to, I took a break from the dating, because it's like if you are not grounded in who you are and you don't love yourself, like you're not going to have that harmonious like loving relationship that you deserve, because you're going to be looking for somebody else to somehow give you something that you really
Yeah.
have to kind of, you got to find it within first. And so it's like those when you're feeling like uncomfortable being alone, or those things, it's like when those things come up, just kind of allowing them to move through you, and just like finding these like spaces. For me is like I really got into yoga, and so like the things that like light you up. It was the yoga, like working out, just different things where I got to the point where I would like go out to dinner by myself and I didn't care, because it
Yeah.
was just kind of like I was just so comfortable with who I was, that when you get to that place, then you can like kind of open the doors to allow that partner to come in. And so like I am like in that place now to where I'm like, okay, this is what I choose, this is what I deserve. And so now I get to just like enjoy the journey to that, and really just be like kind to myself. It's even like if you even think so much as the things like if we had like a list of all the shit we talk to ourselves on a daily basis,
Yeah.
like the majority of us, if someone else said those things to us, we would probably like punch him in the face, right? Like, but it's like we say these mean things to ourselves all the time. It's like, oh, like, I'm fat, or, I my skin looks like crap, or I look like crap today, or I feel like crap
Yep.
today, like all these things. But when we start like one doing something about it, like instead of just like constantly like being like this is the reality, well, you're reinforcing it all the time.
Yeah.
It's like when, you know, doing those things that like are like the self-care things, the self-love, like whether it's just like laying out by the pool and reading a book, like, you know, I always tell my clients, I'm like, you can't give from an empty cup. So like you feel this obligation to give, but you're giving to depletion, to where you got to give from your surplus, your overflow. Like
Yeah.
you have to, because it's a different energy when we're giving from a place of like, I have an abundance of this, so I want to like give some out to my friends, family, like whether it's helping them out or whatever, instead of spreading ourselves so thin. And then it's like we don't have to get time to give that self-care, self-love back to us.
Yeah.
And then we, you know, in addition to just being kind to ourselves and being gentle, like when those things do come up, you know, the when we're not, when those, you know, heavy emotions come up, or when we're not having the best day, just like kind of being okay with sitting with it, rather than like, you know, making it worse, and just allowing it, it moves through quicker. I've
Yes.
noticed like when I just kind of allow these things, and for me, like I love working out, and so actually this was a couple weeks ago, I kind of had one of these situations to where I had like this very interesting, like there was like stuff being released from like my body, like it felt like there were like knives in my body. It was very interesting,
Well,
and I was exhausted. And in the past, I would have forced myself to go to the gym because I was like, you know, like just like, oh, you gotta go 6 days a week. But I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give myself a week off. Like my body needed a week off, and to me that's like self-love. It's like, instead of like continuing to like push myself, it's like, this is a time where I know I need to be in my feminine energy. So
yeah. Yeah, I love that you mentioned that as well, because so often we're like, oh, we need to stick to our routine and we need to like do all the things and check everything off our routine every single morning and wake up at 5 a.m., you know. But it's allowing that. I mean, that's something I had to learn as well, where it's okay to wake up a bit later because you know your body is telling you that you need a bit more rest, right? Yes. Thank you for sharing that with us. And Amanda, before we wrap up, I'd love to know from you what is setting your soul on fire at the moment.
oh, let's see. There are, well, let's see. There's one thing that I'm super, super excited about. So I'm working on this program I'm going to be rolling out, and it's all around the body, and up leveling like the body. And so I do like, in addition to like the soul work, I also do like physical body work. So it's called energetic allergy healing.
Ooh,
So it's basically allergies are just resistance, so it's like another form of resistance in the body. And it was game changing for me, like with my skin, and getting my skin like to where I'm like, okay, like I feel good in my skin. Like it was like I tried everything.
yeah,
So I'm like super excited because I have there are a lot of like women, and a lot of my clients are like, you know, wanting to like feel good in their bodies. Like so many of us like don't feel good in our bodies, and it's like, this is the vessel like we drag around all day, so we may as well feel confident and good in our bodies. So I am, this was actually even just last week that I just started kind of writing out what I was going to be bringing forward for this program. So I'm super excited about that. So I would say that is like what I'm most excited about at this current moment.
ooh, that is a very, very exciting program. I just had a whole heap of allergies come up, so I'm like, okay, I'm in. So yes, that is really awesome. Oh, thank you for sharing that with us. So Amanda, thank you so much for sharing your love and wisdom with us today. If people want to find out more about you and how they can work with you, where should they go?
My website is probably the first place I would suggest. It's just my name. So my last name, kind of a tongue twister. It's Monnier, so Monnier. And there are even free resources. I have some free resources on my website as well. So if anyone's even just kind of interested in learning more, you know, there's some free stuff on there. And then I have some social media as well, so they can find me in any of those spots.
Awesome. Well, I'll have all your details and any recommended resources available in the show notes so people can reach out to you. Thank you so much once again, Amanda.
Thank you, Kaki. Thank you so much.
And until next time, I love you, I believe in you, and always remember to spread love, joy, and kindness wherever you go.